Dipti with the paper. She's starting with a story we're going to talk about a lot in the next hour. In fact, the Chinese President Xi Jinping is wrapping up his visit to North Korea, Dipti.
Yeah, that's right. A rare, very short, albeit a rare visit, a two-day visit to North Korea, which kicked off on Monday, aiming to boost ties and consolidate trust. That's how the Chinese press put it on their front pages. This is the Global Times here. Xi calls on China, North Korea to consolidate trust, boost cooperation, calling for deeper ties for the China Daily. This visit also coming 7 years after his last visit. It's also his first overseas trip of the year, so that is also symbolic in itself. Now, the New York Times also notes in its analysis that it was believed that Kim Jong-un was expected to press Xi for a greater acceptance of his nuclear program. That wasn't so much really reported by the Chinese press. But the visit also served to remind North Korea that China is their, quote, most important benefactor, economic partner, and bulwark against the U.S. The Times analysis also indicates that this visit shows a desire by President Xi to counter or balance the influence from Russia. Russia signed a mutual defense pact with North Korea 2 years ago.
And that deal has really helped revive North Korea's economy, hasn't it?
Well, according to the New York Times actually looks at what it calls the miraculous transformation, how Kim Jong-un fortified North Korea and energized its economy. It actually goes beyond just 2 years. It actually started during the pandemic in 2020. The New York Times explaining that during the lockdown, Kim shut down the border with China to prevent citizens from fleeing. He clamped down on trade and smuggling, which forced North Koreans to produce more goods domestically. He also strengthened his monopoly over the country through brutal enforcement. He's also steadily been expanding his nuclear arsenal. Now, the big boon for him was actually the war in Ukraine. That's what the New York Times explains here, because Kim's supplied troops and weapons to Russia, and Moscow in turn has helped modernize parts of Pyongyang's military, which has also helped it come out of this, sort of emerge out of economic isolation.
Something different for you now, to the UK, in fact. David Sullivan, the former co-chair of West Ham Football Club, facing accusations of sexual coercion.
Well, it's a culmination of a 2-year investigation led by the Times newspaper and BBC Panorama. Several women have accused David Sullivan. He's a billionaire former co-owner of West Ham, or former chair of West Ham. He's been accused of having used his power to pressure aspiring models into sex. Now, these accusations date back to the 1980s. Sullivan actually made his fortune as a porn baron, and that past is also starting to emerge in the wake of these accusations, at least come under scrutiny. Now, The Guardian explains in its coverage, so this is the Times, this is Daily Mirror and The Sun, both going with the word predator, that he abused his power to bed models, press teens for sex, with some of the testimonies in the British dailies. The Guardian explains that really gives us a bit more light on his history, reminding us that he led a sports tabloid called the Sunday Sport in the 1980s, which occupied, I quote, the seediest corner of Fleet Street. In 1987, The Guardian says the paper, quote, plumbed the depths of journalistic ethics with a countdown to the 16th birthday of a schoolgirl so that she could legally pose topless on the paper. Sullivan, for his part, has refuted the allegations against him.
And finally from Dipti, we're going to talk about Elba. Idris Elba, newly knighted, in fact, Sir Idris Elba. He may well be a sir, but he will most likely not be James Bond. Is that right?
That's right. Novel, Stuart Novel.
Yeah, thank you very much. Laurent Diptyque Laurent.
Despite intense speculation for many, many months, years about who will be the next Bond, Idris Elba's name did come up a lot as a potential Bond, the first black James Bond ever. But in a new profile with British GQ, he has all but poured water on those speculations. He recently did an interview in which he said that rumors of him playing Bond were just that, a rumor. And he added that basically he thinks that some markets are just not ready for the change that a black James Bond would bring. He said that it's not realistic. He also offered this advice to the cast of the next Bond films. He said, don't make it woke, saying that Bond has always been about escapism, and trying to make it anything else would take away from the unrealistic aspect that fans love so much about Bond, James Bond.
I think I kind of agree with that. I wonder if he's putting his parrot up for contention there as the next James Bond. He seems to be in that picture,
It does take centre stage on that photo, doesn't it?
Yeah. Bond, James Bond? I don't know.
Thanks, Stuart.
This is my best parrot impression there.